What's going on, guys? My name's Derick, also known as The Two Smoker on TikTok, and today we're installing PivotWorks linkage and swing arm bearings in this 2013 YZ125 build. Let's get into it. To get this job done, we're going to need our PivotWorks linkage and swing arm bearings, a variety of punches that fit the outside diameter of the bearings, a hammer, seal driver, and a press, which you will see here in a minute. We're going to start by installing the linkage bearings. I like to apply a little bit of grease to the OD of the bearing to help with install, and remember, there is a flat side and a rounded side to the bearing. The flat side is the side with the numbers. That is the side that you want to press on, not the rounded side. Also worth noting on this part here, we're going to press the bearing until it hits that ridge you see down inside there, but on this piece, we want to press the bearing until it is flush with this ridge right here. The key here is to ensure that whatever you're using to press in your bearing is almost the same OD as the bearing, and you want to go nice and easy to make sure that the bearing is going in nice and square, and we are seated. Just like that. Same thing on the other side, and remember, you want to press on the side with the numbers, so numbers on the bearing facing out. Beautiful. Now for the knuckle, you'll notice I'm using a larger or different punch or pressing tool. That's because I want to stop on that ridge, so this one actually has a bigger OD than the bearing, and look at that, we are nice and flush. Now we repeat the same process with the other three bearings in the knuckle. Perfect. Last one, see how easy it is when you give it the lube. Just like that, we've got all of our bearings installed. Before we proceed, we're going to pack these bearings with the PivotWorks grease that was supplied in the kit. Don't be afraid to get down and dirty and really get in there. Don't be afraid to really pack it in there, and don't worry about the mess. You're going to need all that excess grease anyways for the seal, washers, and everything else that goes in there. Let's move on. Now we can go ahead and install 2 out of our 4 spacers, just like so, followed by our 2 seals. They should just press in nice and easy, just like that. Now we're going to repeat the exact same process on the other side, starting with the 2 spacers, followed by our 2 seals. 1, 2. Make sure they're seated. Beautiful! At this point, I like to grab a little more grease and start packing it in behind that seal just as an extra precaution. You can't have too much lube. Next, we're going to take 2 of our collars and we're going to install those into the seals nice and easy. You want to make sure you don't pinch the seal, something like that. Grab the 2 collars that come in your kit and we're going to slide those into the bearings nice and easy. Remember, if they bind up, stop, they should go in with ease. Finally, our 2 last collars, they just plop in like so. 1. Now's the time you want to worry about all that excess grease I was talking about. Give it a good wipe down and you got yourself one beautiful finished part. For this piece, it's a little more simple. We've only got 1 seal to go in on this side. Just like so. Ensure it's seated. Perfect. Flip it around. Install the second seal. Once again, ensure it's seated. Beautiful. Once again, we're going to grab a little extra grease and pack it in behind that seal. Don't be afraid to give it the lube. And last but not least, we're going to grab our collar. Once again, lightly working it in through the bearings. It should slide nice and easy, just like so. Give this part a nice wipe down to get it looking all shiny. Hey, c'est pas beautiful, tabarnak? You got 1 linkage ready to be installed. Now we can move on to the swing arm and our PivotWorks bearing kit. For the outside bearings on the swing arm, you want the bearings to be flush with this lip, just like on the knuckle. Once again, I'm using a punch that has a larger OD than the bearing, so it'll stop once it hits the shoulder, just like that. Repeat the same process on the other side. Once again, nice and easy, ensuring that you're going in straight. For the two inner bearings here, we want to make sure we have enough room for our seal. So what I went ahead and did is grooved out a little notch here on my tool, so when I'm pressing it in and that notch sits flush with this surface, I'll know I have enough room for my seal. Alrighty, nice and easy. We're gonna keep an eye on that mark and ensure that once we get there, we stop. That couldn't have went any better if I tried. Pull our punch out. Perfect, now we'll flip it over and do the other side. Last bearing, here we go. Nice and easy until we hit our mark. Next thing we're gonna do is install our inside seals. So once again, we're just gonna start those by hand. These ones are a little tougher to push in all the way, so I like to set them in like that. Then I'll come in with a couple punches and a hammer to drive it home. Did you hear that sound change? That means we are seated. Do the same with the other side, and it also helps if you lube up the seal, makes it slide in a little easier. Set our punch up. And we are home. Now we can go ahead and give it the lube. The reason I installed the inner seals first is so I can really get up in behind there while I'm packing the bearings to ensure that there's loads of grease in behind that seal. Next, we can install our lubed up thrust washer, followed by our generously lubed up thrust bearing, and then a second thrust washer, followed by our seal so that those don't fall out when we do the other side. This one usually goes in nice and easy, no punch needed. Same thing on this side, generously lubed thrust washer, followed by the thrust bearing, and then a second thrust washer. And we're going to top that off with our lubed up seal. Once again, presses in nice and easy. No punch needed. Once again, I just like to pack a little extra grease up in behind that seal. Make sure I work all the grease into the bearings properly. Believe me, there's nothing more annoying than taking apart swing arm bearings that are rusted or seized solid. Story of my life lately. Okay, now we can go ahead and install our outer collar. It'll just sit in the seal like so. Do the exact same thing on the other side, nice and easy. Now we're going to go ahead and install our inside collar. It should just push in there nice and easy. Once again, if it binds up or something, stop. There we go. Flip it over and do the other side. Work it past the seal, push it down in there. There we go. Alright, now we can go ahead and wipe down all the grease off of our swing arm. Alright, and just like that, our swing arm is complete and ready to be installed on the bike. Now to piece it all together, the first thing we're going to do is grab our knuckle and we're going to slide that into the control arm just like so. And then I typically grab a bar just to align the holes all the way through and kind of hold it there. We can then grab our mounting bolt and you want to give it a good coating of grease so it doesn't rust up on you. We can then take our lubed up mounting bolt and slide it through the hole. You may have to wiggle the knuckle a little bit. Oh, we got lucky. Should just push in like that. If you are having troubles getting it lined up, don't force it, just move the knuckle around and it should just plop in once it finds its happy place. Now we can drop in our washer and our nut and tighten it down using a 19mm socket. That ain't going nowhere, buds. Same thing on this one, we've got a washer followed by a nut, 19mm. We're gonna thread that on and grab our 19 mil socket and tighten that up. That ain't going nowhere. We're gonna double check the knuckle to swing arm bolt. Oh yeah, we're good to go. Next, we want to install our linkage here to the frame. So we're just gonna slide the linkage into the frame. It could be a little tight if you got it powder coated like I did with mine. There we go, something like that. You may have to finesse it around a little bit. Perfect. If you have trouble aligning the hole, once again, you can just grab a punch and kind of work it through all the way across. Wiggle it around a little bit and you should be lined up. Now we can give our bolt the lube. Get it nice and greased up, especially this one. This one really tends to rust. Now this bolt also has a flat spot, so keep that in mind. This side of the frame has a tang. If you got no tang and you got no flat spot, then it doesn't matter. Now we can work our bolt in there. There we go. Push that all the way through. We're home. Once again, we've got a washer followed by a nut. So we're gonna thread that on by hand. On this side, you won't actually be able to use a socket because of your chain roller tang right here. So we're just gonna go ahead with a 19 millimeter wrench and we're gonna tighten that up. There we go, good and tight. Make sure everything moves free. Perfect. And there you have it, installing your PivotWorks linkage and swing arm bearings, then attaching it all back to the frame really is that easy. Once again, thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Ciao.